great devotee of the Lord named Narada Muni. And he has unlimited powers to travel anywhere and everywhere in the universe, in many different universes, and also to go to the spiritual world. And he's always traveling throughout the universes with his veena. And he's playing his veena and always chanting these mantras, these names of the Lord. And he's always spreading the message of this way to be truly happy. So one day he was like this, traveling, and he saw this mystic yogi. And this mystic yogi had been sitting there for hundreds of years doing his mystic practices and his meditations, and he developed great mystic abilities. So he talked to the mystic yogi, and he told the mystic yogi, "Oh, I am Narada Muni, and I am going to go and see Narayan in the spiritual world." And the mystic yogi said, "Oh, can you please ask Narayan a question for me? Ask Narayan when I will be able to come back to the spiritual world." And Narada Muni said, "Okay, I will let you know what he says." And he left. Then he continues on, and he meets a cobbler, and he's just making repairs on shoes, which is actually a very low profession. Very poor, old cobbler. And so they began to talk, and when the cobbler saw Narada Muni coming, he said, "Oh, Narada Muni," and he paid his obeisances and was so respectful. And he said, "Narada Muni, where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I am actually on my way to the spiritual world to see Lord Narayan." And so the cobbler said, "Oh, you're going to see my Lord Narayan? How wonderful. Can you please ask him when I will be able to come back to see him in the spiritual world?" The cobbler asked him like that. Narada Muni said, yes, I will certainly do that." And so he goes to the spiritual world, and he sees his Lord Narayan, and they talk, have a wonderful meeting. And he was just getting ready to leave, and he said, "Oh, Narayan, please, can I ask you one thing? Just before I came here, I met two people. I met a mystic yogi, and I also met a poor cobbler. And both of them asked me to ask you when they would be able to come back to the spiritual world." Narayan said, "Oh, okay." Said, "You can tell the mystic yogi that after 100 lifetimes, he can come back to the spiritual world." And he said, "And you can tell the cobbler that this is his last life. At the end of this life, he will come back to me in the spiritual kingdom." And Narada Muni said, "Oh, thank you very much. I will deliver your message." And he was ready to leave. And Lord Narayan said, "Oh, and one more thing. When you see these, they're both going to ask you what I was doing. And so you tell them that I was threading elephants through the eye of a needle." And Narada Muni says, "Okay, my Lord, thank you," and he left. So he goes, and he goes up to this mystic yogi. The mystic yogi said, "Oh, Narada Muni, are you coming from the Vaikuntha world?" He said, "Yes, I'm just coming back." He said, "Oh, did you see Lord Narayan?" He said, "Yes, I saw Lord Narayan." He said, "And what did he say? What did he say?" He said that you're very, very lucky that in 100 lifetimes you can come back to the spiritual world. He said, 100 lifetimes? What are you talking about? I've been doing mystic yoga here for hundreds of years. I'm so good. I practice so hard. I have so many mystic abilities. 100 lifetimes? You're not Narada Muni. You're crazy. Get out of here, you know? And he drove Narada Muni away. So then he goes to the cobbler. And the cobbler sees him coming again, pays his obeisances on the ground, stands up, oh, Narada Muni, it's so wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming to see me. And he said, oh, Narada Muni, did you see Lord Narayana? He said, yes, I saw him. He said, oh, wonderful, wonderful. How great. And he said, did you happen to ask him the question when I could come back? And he said, yes. Oh, wait, I messed it up, didn't I? I messed it. I left out one important part. When Narada Muni was talking to the mystic yogi, he was so upset because 100 lifetime. What are you talking about? And then he said, okay, if you saw Lord Narayana, then tell me, what was he doing? He said, oh, he was just happily threading elephants through the eye of a needle. He said, I knew you were not Narada Muni. Nobody can do that. Get out of here. You're a charlatan. You're just a cheater, you know. So then he sees the cobbler. And the cobbler said, when can I come back? And he said, oh, Lord Narayana said, at the end of this lifetime, you can come back. This is your last lifetime in the material world. And the cobbler was so happy. He said, oh, wonderful. Thank you. My Lord is so merciful. And he said, oh, can you also tell me what my Lord Narayana was doing? He said, oh, he was just happily threading elephants through the eye of a needle. He said, oh, Narayana, he's so great. He's so wonderful. I can't believe how wonderful Lord Narayana is. Narada Muni said to the cobbler, do you believe he was threading elephants through the eye of a needle? Of course, of course. He can do anything. He said, look, and they were just happened to be under a banyan tree, big banyan tree. And banyan tree has these little fruits. Sometimes the banyan tree is called the holy fig tree because their fruits look like a little fig. And if you open one, there's so many seeds inside, like hundreds of seeds. So the cobbler reached down and he picked up, yeah, here we go. This is a beech, see, a beech fruit, beech nut. So anyway, he picked up the little banyan fruit, and he said, look, here's this giant banyan tree. It produces thousands of these fruits all the time. And he said, opened it up, and he said, look, inside there's hundreds of seeds, and each one of these seeds contains a big banyan tree like this. And there's hundreds of such fruits. My Lord Narayana can do anything, you know. And so Narada Muni said, oh, yes, you understand. You are qualified, of course, to go back to the spiritual world. You're such a great devotee. Thank you very much. And he left.
Wow.
So.
Thank you.